Alright, today we are going to be replacing the front shocks of the Jeep Wrangler. First, we're going to be using a 17 millimeters wrenches, and what I'm going to try to do here is slide it on the top. It's a little bit of comfortable, and I use the one that it has a wrench, so that way it will be a little easier to maneuver as we getting through this one, because as you're gonna see next, it is a little painful to be able to get this done. But as you can see here, I already got a good grip in here of the shock, and I'm gonna use my other one, and I'm gonna go the opposite way. As you can see now, it's loose, and you can see how this wrench is actually coming really handy now on top. Oops, I lost the wrench in there, but as you can see, it's not loose. It's not loosened yet because I need to hold it with the other with the wrench as well in the bottom one. But you can see now that you get this part, this is the part that takes the longest now in here, and it takes about, this is the longest of the process, and it takes about a good 5 minutes to be able to take out the shock as you have them in place in here. But it will take you a good amount of time because it's just a manual process, and there's no way to use any automatic tools or anything like that. But you can see here again, and essentially I'm just gonna go ahead and loosen up, going opposite ways to be able to get that one done. But as you can see here, I actually got the wrench on the bottom situated, and this is where that little wrench comes in really nicely on the top, because now I can just go back and forth and be able to loose up the nut and be able to take out the shock. A little process manually here. Again, this process is gonna be the tedious and longest time to be able to remove the shock out of place because of how inconvenient it is. But here we're gonna try it again, and just gonna go really fast now that the nut is loose. I already got a good grip on it, and I'm gonna continue doing that. And you can see now how the shock kind of moved, but I'm just gonna use my hands on the bottom one and move that plastic. And before you even get started, in order to make this process a little easier, go ahead and remove your tire. A lot of people will turn the wheels to the side. This is gonna be a lot harder if you don't remove the tire, because as you can see, I'm using all the space in here, and in order to remove it, I just jacked up the car to a nicer position. Once you get that one loose, the work is now on the bottom one. So you can see in here from the picture, I'm actually grabbing an 18 millimeter on one side, and then I'm gonna use my impact drill on the other side to be able to loose up that one. After you loose it up, this is how you get your screw. It will look like. I will recommend turning your wheel to the side so that way you can have more space. In here, I'm gonna go really quick to the other tire, the other side, and here I'm gonna show you how I remove the bottom one. So in here, I use just a flathead screw with my hammer, and just hammer it down, and just use that one, just really nice and smooth, just to remove that screw all the way through. And as you can see, it just pops out nice and easy. We'll go back now to, as you can see here, it just pops out. Just put a little force on it, and bam, there you go. That removes it from the bottom. So now that we have the bottom removed, we're gonna finalize removing the shock. removing the shock is a little bit more of a painful situation in here, but again, just utilizing the right tools and being patient with the process will allow you to remove to be able to be successful. As you take it out of the bottom, you can actually start using your hands to be able to twist it. This helps a little bit, but it's still when it's a little tighter. I still utilize the wrench to be able to do this. I mean, there's multiple ways to skin the cat, but I like to utilize this methodology. It was really easy and really simple to be able to take out the shock out of the Jeep. I'm gonna move the camera a little closer in here so that way you can see from the top how that is once it removes. As you can see there on the bottom, there is a little wash and a little spacer, and that spacer we are gonna save it just in case. You don't need to. Your new shock should come with spacers, but in the event that they don't, this will come in really handy in order to be able to reuse them if your new shocks did. But again, your new shocks should have them, and they should be working just perfectly for you. So you can see now it's just loosen it up. I took a different approach on this side. Now that it was almost loose because it was a little easier, I just hold it tight from the top and then utilize the bottom one to finish it up, removing it. And as you can see, now I just utilize it by hand. It's a little easier, and now it's coming up nice and loose. Bam. Now I seen some videos that you can actually remove it by twisting it. Don't do that. That's more complicated, and you have the risk of damaging your location in here for your shock. Now we remove the screw, and we remove this. There's gonna be a bushing and a wash on top as well. There's a wash, and there should be another one on top. The area comes with a bushing. We'll go ahead and remove this other one. It's like a little rubber, and bam. Now that this guy is removed, we're gonna, as you can see right there, this is how it looks. And sorry, the pollen, it was coming down hard this day. Now what we're gonna do is this is how it looks like from the old one. As you can see, it's really rusty and not doing the work. One thing I learned is whenever I'm working on the Jeep, it's good to clean it up. So we're gonna use some purple power, spray it up a little bit, let it sit for a minute or so. After the minute is over, you want to wipe that. It's just a little technique that I learned from one of my friends. Is if you're working on something in the car, might as well take that little extra 5 minutes just to clean it up and make it nice and neat. As you can see, it was full of dirty and a lot of oil and stuff like that. So over the years, and I wanted just to be able to clean it up. So I used that degreaser really nicely and done to be able to make it look almost like new. Now I'm gonna use some of the tire shiner, so that way it can protect it. Let it sit there for a minute. Obviously in here it's gonna show that it's just not letting it sit for a long time, but I did let it sit for a whole minute plus. That way it can give that little nice protection, so in the future you will still get dirty. It will still get dirty, but you know what, it will be better than before, right? And obviously the one item that I like to mention is the driver's side replacement is a lot easier than the passenger side. The passenger side on the top, it doesn't have all the necessary spacing, and so it makes it a little more complicated, but nevertheless you're able to do that. Here now we got our new shock. The shock that I decided to go with, it was the Fox one, and as you can see, mine comes with the bushing already, so I don't need to utilize the old one. You're gonna have to press it down a little bit in order to bring it into place. But before you actually bring it into place, what I will recommend you is lowering down your jack as lower as possible as you can. That will make it easier for it to fit on the bottom. So this part it was a little tricky. Again, it shows in here that I'm just doing this just to accommodate that. But now we're gonna go ahead and put them through the top, and I'm gonna use my other hand to be able to put the bushing and the screw, so that way I can use the metal of the shock to be able to use it as a holder in there for that. And now I'm gonna use the screw that came out with the shock. Just have it close to you, and that way we can go ahead and place it. Again, this is gonna be a little more tricky than anything else. This is the part that it took a little bit longer to be able to put the screw back on there. That wash and that nut, it was a little harder than I anticipated, but nevertheless, once I got a grip on it, I was able to go through it just fine. Now, putting the shock, this shock was a little easier than removing the fat tray because I didn't have the nut on the bottom, and this nut is actually an 18 millimeter. So I made the mistake that I thought it was going to be a 17, but it was actually an 18. A little different from the stock one. So here I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up, and you're gonna see that I'm just using that just a little bit to tighten up the situation in here. I still haven't placed the one on the bottom yet because I want to be able to get a nice little grip on the top. But here I started utilizing my hand and just moving it from the bottom to be able to move the cylinder. And now instead of utilizing the wrench to going back and forth little by little, it's now using my hand, and that allowed me to go a whole 360 and be able to make it a lot easier for me. Once it was a little tight and in place, I went ahead and, like I said again, once you're ready, this portion is going to be the one that takes a little bit the longest. But once you get this done, the next step is to lower down your jack. So a lot of people will tell you, a lot of people will say it's like get a stand jack and all this other stuff. I just use my regular stand jack that I use to change the tire. Here's a better look into how the screw looks like on the top. I mean the nut. Just using my 18 millimeter, using my hand again. Just gonna go ahead and twist the shock as much and as close as possible until my string allows me to, and then I'm gonna utilize the wrench to be able to finalize that situation and tighten it up as much as possible, as you can see here. This was one of the most fun projects that I have done on the Jeep so far, to be honest, because it brought me to a little challenge. I will be completely honest, the first one took me a little bit over 2 hours between the cleaning and the waiting and just learning how to remove it. The second one on the passenger side, it went a lot smoother because I already knew what I was doing. It went up to about an hour, and I was all up on the way, and much better on this shocks than it was on the other ones. So now this not as much tight as possible. Now we go ahead and tighten it off. Remove this one, and now we go to the bottom right here. And now that we have all good, we'll go to the bottom. I use a torque wrench. As you can see here, I just have my regular jack, but I used an 18 millimeter on the back and a 17 on the front. I used it by hand first to be able to tighten it. Then I used my torque wrench. The torque wrench is optional if you would like to use it. But I used it. I did use it after utilizing this normal tools. I went ahead and used the torque wrench and put it and torque it to 30 pounds of pressure as much as I could, and here we are. The shock is nice and installed and easy and ready to go. Here is a little how it looks like, a good one, and here is how it should not look at all. So bad one, as you can see, all rusty and everything else. Now don't forget to press, if you like this video, don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel. As part of this you can see now my new background, which my kids were able to do. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe.